Welcome back to the new SEC podcast. I'm Hunter Ziesman here with Randall Ledet Jr. As always, last week of the season, Rivalry Week, and we know what that brings. It brings big games, heated matchups, and there's none more in the country you could maybe argue with the history, with the hated rivalry in-state between Alabama and Auburn, the Iron Bowl this weekend, and there's stakes. There's always stakes on the game. It seems to be for one of the two teams. Alabama looking to make the playoffs, Auburn looking to keep them out. Keeps them out of the SEC championship. It's a huge game, night game in Jordan-Hare. Alabama 6.5-point favorites. Randall, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Auburn looking to be bowl eligible. Auburn kind of, doing an audition for who should be the quarterback for next year. They announced Ashton Daniels is going to be starting in this game, so I thought that was an interesting decision after what we saw Deuce Knight did the past week against Mercer. But there's nothing more that Auburn would love to do than to ruin the season of Alabama. And it's going to be a fun one. I'm super excited. I never want to fast forward through Thanksgiving, but I'm really ready to watch this game. I'm not going to lie.
It's crazy that we've had multiple quarterback talks this week with like 3 different teams, and it's week 14. Like we've done it with Mississippi State, we've done it with LSU. Now we've done it, here, starting the season with Jackson Arnold, moving to Ashton Daniels, who looks good. And I want to talk more about that. Deuce Knight last week. It was Mercer. I know there's a lot of calls for him to be that guy, but how do you perform in an environment? It's a home game, but in that environment, the Iron Bowl environment as a freshman, I think that Ashton Daniels is probably the better play here. I can see where the fan base wants it to be Deuce Knight, but I'm sticking with Ashton Daniels if I'm Auburn, just for the experience that he brings, because you might need that in this game.
Yeah, I think from a seniority perspective, he definitely brings the best experience. And, we saw him perform pretty well against Vanderbilt a couple weeks back. And, right now, 538 yards on the season, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 172 rushing yards. So it's not like he doesn't give you as much as Deuce or as much as Jackson Arnold on the ground. Well-rounded, obviously, want to kind of clean up the turnover piece when it comes to that 1 interception.
Here's the thing I want to bring up, I guess, with Ashton Daniels, is he talked about the teams he played and how he's looked pretty good. Let's talk about the teams that he's played a little.
Let's talk about it.
I want to give him his credit because we don't know, I guess, what he could do in this game. But when you look at the teams that he's played against and looked pretty well against, Arkansas, 123rd pass defense. Kentucky, 116th pass defense. Vanderbilt, 122nd pass defense. Now you're playing Alabama, 5th pass defense right now. It's a completely different ball game when it comes to the DB play, when it comes to the tackling, when it comes to not allowing anything after the catch. I think that plays into this game where you might look at this guy and think he's got it. It's a different ball game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, right? Definitely well aware that Alabama's defense is significantly different than Kentucky, different than Vanderbilt. It doesn't. Should it lead me to have less confidence in his abilities? Absolutely. And it's an opportunity for him to show that he can play at that level. I think what he can rely on, of course, is the rushing attack with Jeremiah Cobb. His own rushing abilities, 2 rushing touchdowns. I know the Alabama defense has kind of proven to be able to be a little more vulnerable running the football wise. So if they can pair what he can do on the ground with the Auburn rushing attack, that might put less pressure on him to perform against his top 5 SEC rated passing defense in Alabama.
Yeah, and it's a good point to bring up Jeremiah Cobb back for this game off of injury per DJ Durkin. Like that, we're recording here on Wednesday, so that's a huge get. 2 guys back in this game, that's important. Jeremiah Cobb, Keldrick Falk as well is going to be back. You pair him up, Kerryon Crawford on the other side. They've done a great job at getting pressure. Ty Simpson right now has been a little bit susceptible to pressure. We've seen 7 straight games with the turnovers, 6 most fumbles in the nation. When you get a guy back like Keldrick Falk, like I said, Perry and Kerryon Crawford, I think Auburn's, the goal here is to get pressure on Ty Simpson and force some of those errant throws, force a turnover. That's, how do you attack this Alabama O-line? That's what I'm looking at on the Auburn defense.
Yeah, it's a big piece, right? And I think one of the keys for Auburn in this game is going to be getting Ty Simpson off the field. And I say Ty Simpson because we're going to touch on the rushing attack and the lack thereof for Alabama. But Alabama on the season is 17th in the country in 3rd down conversions, 38% on the year, or 46% on the year. And I think that if they can sustain drives, which they've proven to do, not as much the last couple games, they were 5 for 13 against Oklahoma. if they can sustain drives, I don't know if Auburn's offense can go toe-to-toe with them.
Sure.
If Keldrick Falk and Terrion Crawford, like you mentioned, can create that pressure, create these big third down situations where Ty is rattled in the pocket, that lowers that third down conversion percentage like we saw against Oklahoma, what they were able to do against him. And that makes this much more of a game for Auburn, personally.
Yeah, it's a good call out. And how do you shut that down? Because the running is super limited. Something to keep an eye on here is how the Auburn team has been bringing that additional pressure from the safety position. Xavier Adkins, Robert Woodyard Jr. are getting really, really involved in the pass rush. Provides a lot of opportunity. You got extra bodies down there. Alabama hasn't been the best blocking blocking the running back.
Yeah.
They've felt that additional pressure when you bring those unique blitzes. What I think Alabama could do is provide more opportunities for some of those little dumps. The play that was pretty solid, especially earlier in the year, was that like 15-yard pass, 20-yard pass was really hot for Ty Simpson, Jeremy Bernard. A lot of those crossing routes were finding those soft spots in the middle of the field. If you do have a lot of the Auburn team bringing those blitzes from the linebacker position, that's a good opportunity for those quick dumps that haven't really been a huge part of the game. But when they've worked to Josh Cuevas has been a critical part of Alabama getting those third downs. So that's a key to watch is does the overexertion of pressure catch up to Auburn?
Yeah, and they might need that, right? Right now we talk about Jeremy Bernard, fourth in the SEC when it comes to touchdowns. Obviously, you got to get in the red zone to score touchdowns typically. He's got 6 on the year. Cuevas has been involved. Latsier Brooks has been involved. I would definitely expect them to kind of use that check down plays, especially with the lack of the running game. I think one of the questions for me when I think about Alabama is who are they going to go out there with these four running backs, right? Is it going to be A.K. Deer, 2 touchdowns against EIU? Is it more Jam Miller? I've heard other running backs people prefer in terms of like their north-south rushing abilities.
Something that Alabama's done is, although they're struggling on the run, only 27% of their yards coming from the run, 129th out of 136 in the nation, they've continued to attempt it. Yeah. And I think that's been a good thing. I've been with friends watching the game, and I've seen people watching the game like, it's not working. Give it up. Right. But you can't give it up. You got to keep teams honest. 2 to 3 yards, in a cloud of smoke. It's
otherwise they'll go nickel. They'll go nickel all game and just have DBs out there. Dime package. So
you'll start seeing that, and it's you start being able to bring those linebackers in for a pass rush. You don't have to worry as much about the outsides. I think they're going to continue to run. I think Kevin Riley becomes a big piece of it. We've seen A.K. Deer, last week against Eastern Illinois. I mean, the rushing attack against Eastern Illinois was all over the place. I mean, right. 8 touchdowns on the game. It is what it is against the level of competition. But I think it's a statement that they were trying to make.
But it's something to really think about when you're facing this DJ Durkin-led defense, where he's going to try to focus on your weaknesses, I'm assuming, and play and really make sure they play to the strengths of Alabama, which is not of late been as much passing, but overall, Ty Simpson's still proven to be a good quarterback. Every quarterback has lulls throughout the season. This is not the game to have that lull necessarily. When we think about what we'd want to see from Ashton Daniels with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and what those guys do, thoughts on their viability in this matchup against this Alabama secondary.
It's a tough team to play against. I mean, there is going to be some soft spots in the zones. I don't think it looks as solid for some of those downfield passes that they've been airing out and using the wide receiver talent to win the one-on-one matchup. I don't see that being maybe the case here. I think there's going to be a lot more, need for sustained drives against this Alabama DB room who's stingy. They're getting turnovers. They've been increasing their ability to tackle. Bray Hubbard all over the field, making plays. Dijon Lee been a great DB for the Alabama team this year. I think it's going to be tough to to move the ball in the air. I think running is going to be the way. Gap schemes have worked well, being able to get the D line out of position in what they want to do. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I mean, I've seen so much out there, right, in this game that everyone's picking Auburn. Everyone likes Auburn right now.
I mean, the last time they played in Jordan Hare, it was a 4th down play that was needed to win the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big Jalen Milroe play to Isaiah Bond. He cemented himself in the Alabama lore and then left. But, more power to him.
Bags are calling, right?
Bags are calling.
Bags are calling. I mean, when you think about this Auburn offense and kind of if they were to pull off this upset, like I said, one of the things I keyed in on was sustaining drives, third down conversion. I feel like that's one of the big things. 91st in the country for Auburn, 36.76%. This Alabama defense is going to have to really stop them in the tracks, not allow them to get momentum, even if it's field goals. And where they're going to have to win the battle is those third downs. If the Auburn team gets the crowd in the game and they're converting on these third downs, it's a completely different game, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And talking on third downs, on the flip side, getting the crowd involved, where Alabama has had a little bit of a hard time, and we can talk about the special teams being a factor in this, is the drives that fizzle out.
Yeah.
Within 20 yards of the midfield line. Like Alabama's getting in those positions where it's 4th and 3 on the 40-yard line. And it's like, okay, well, we obviously don't have the leg. And now you're having to do some trickery. You're having to make things, go. We've seen that in the Oklahoma game where like drives would start but couldn't finish because they weren't able to continue the drive after they got it to.
And you saw it in the stat sheet too, right? I mean, they outgained them across the board offensively.
Because they were starting it, and then you saw miss kick. I'd be interested to see what the trust level is. If you got a 38-yard kick, but it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, that's a decision factor. That's when coaching comes into play because Alabama right now is having those kicking struggles. It essentially lost them the Oklahoma game. Like for lack of a better way to put it, like you're one kick away from winning the game. Points on the table, and it wasn't like you're asking a guy to make a 50-yarder. We know the issues, the booing, the whole thing that's happening there. He's going to have to get used to hearing the boos because he's going to be hearing all kind of noise from the Auburn crowd.
I think noise has kind of been the theme of this last week of the season, whether it's Ole Miss, whether it's, Penn State rumors about Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack rumors, Alabama once again kind of inside out, outside in playoffs, a lot of talk. You silence all that noise and you focus on the field. Can't turn the ball over like we saw Ryan Williams do on the punt return fumble. Can't miss these kicks if you're Alabama. Auburn's pass defense, 11th in the SEC, 239.6 yards given up. Completely different from a 5th best pass defense.
Sure.
This should be a tie redemption game. Maybe getting himself an invite to New York, depending on how he plays in this game for the Heisman race.
Yeah, I mean, he had that tough run of games. I mean, with the turnovers, that has essentially ended that run for him. I mean, he's still, from a scouting standpoint, NFL scouts, you're still seeing what this guy can do. You just got to fix some of the mechanics. He's been throwing off his back leg a little bit, missing some throws high, putting a couple in the dirt, like we saw in the final drive of the Oklahoma game. He's still a great quarterback. He's still that guy. I think a lot of the conversation around Alabama, especially as of late, why most people are picking Auburn, why a lot of people are overlooking this Alabama team in this game is because of some of the, America's sweethearts coming in from behind that they think deserve a spot in the playoffs, whether that's, BYU, Miami. You're looking at like Vanderbilt as well, like kind of coming in, like they want to see teams that have historically had success fall out. And I think an Auburn win over Alabama would just be one more great narrative for the sport. And I think that's what people are chasing it. I don't see it. Alabama 6.5-point favorites here, but I like Alabama to win by multiple scores.
I mean, last season's game really wasn't much of a game, and obviously they played in Tuscaloosa. But I imagine Alabama in this game. I'm going to say 28-14. So I'm with you. Two scores. We're pretty close there. I just don't. I don't know if. I think with the season on the line for what the goals are for Alabama, and I can't speak to Auburn's goals. I just don't think that Kalen DeBoer is going to mess up this moment. He's not on the field, obviously. I think Ty Simpson steps up to the plate. 2nd in the SEC in passing yards, 2,900 plus. He's still got that dog in him. This is the final stamp on the season, and I think he ultimately can achieve it.
I do too. I got 26-10, so we're kind of in a similar ballpark. I think it's going to be low scoring. Like we mentioned, both teams, Alabama not doing it successfully. Both teams going to run the ball a decent bit. I think Alabama wins the turnover battle here. And that's going to be one of the key factors in this game. I think it comes down to the year-long experience from the quarterback position where maybe Alabama can force something and then they roll on. If Alabama wins this game, they find themselves in Atlanta the following weekend playing either Texas A&M, should they win their game this weekend, playing Georgia if Texas beats A&M. So those are the two opponents for Alabama if they win this game. We have videos about that, so be sure to go check that out if you're curious. I'm curious on the different matchups and what we think about that. But any other thoughts here before we sign off?
No thoughts for me. I mean, I feel like the mission's pretty clear for Alabama, and I think the mission's pretty clear for Auburn. It's a fun spot to be in, although your goals for your season are not what you expected when, SEC media days and your former coach said that he expected to win the SEC and make the playoffs. You have a chance to ruin your in-state rival season, control kind of the recruiting discussion, and probably help yourself get a better coach in the current coaching cycle. But it's going to be an exciting game, Saturday night, prime time. Like it doesn't get any better than this. It's bittersweet the season's ending, but love this game. Best rivalry in the SEC, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited for this one. Like I said, night game, going to be hot. I'm Hunter Ziesman. He's Randall Ed Jr. If you like this video, like the content we've put out, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what we're going to be doing in the postseason, rolling into the off season and into next. So be sure to be here for it. We appreciate you tuning in, and until next time.